Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Rizz Podcast. I'm your host, Crispino, and for today's episode, we have with us Scott. Scott is from the UK and helps founders and business owners who are grafting hard but feel stuck by adding structure. He lives by his motto, no graft, no glory, and now he's helping entrepreneurs under that brand name. So, welcome to the show, Scott. It is great to have you here with us.
It's brilliant to be here, Crispino. Really, really enjoyable. Thank you for reaching out. It's really good to share a little bit of my experience and all of those things I've been doing that give me the grey hair that I have today. But yeah, hopefully we can stop people getting as grey as me.
Awesome, awesome. Lovely to have you over, Scott. And I was going through your profile, and besides grafting hard, entrepreneurship, and LinkedIn, I noticed we have some other things in common as well, such as football and UFC. So I'm myself a big football fan. So I suppose you follow the Premier League, right?
No, so I follow the EFL. So my team are in the Championship. Yeah.
Yes.
So I support a team called Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, yeah, lovely. I think Downing was a player for Middlesbrough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're coming to me at a brilliant time, right, Crispino? Because my team are currently top of the EFL League. And we're very rarely top. Hopefully next year we'll be in the Premier League.
Let's go. Amazing. That's amazing. Also, I noticed you like the UFC. So I'm again a big fan of the UFC. So yeah, that's amazing. Do you follow UFC like regularly, all the cards?
Yeah. So follow all of the big cards. Some from the Performance Center, but I prefer the bigger atmospheres when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
And I live near Liverpool, so obviously we were following Paddy the Baddy the other week.
Yes. Oh, you have hair the same color as Paddy the Baddy.
So and Tom Aspinall is a big guy over here.
The situation he's going through. He got a double eye surgery just like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he did. But for so many years we didn't have a lot of UK fighters doing well, really. And then now we've got UK fighters doing well, more coming through, so it's nice. And obviously the big cards are good as well.
I'm a big fan of Bisping as well. I love Bisping.
Yeah, I'm on the one-eye warrior, right? Fighting
exactly. There's something about English fighters and the eyes. Bisping won the belt with one eye. Paddy got eye poked by Gaethje like a couple of times, and now Aspinall. So yeah.
And all three of those fighters, Crispino, are from the area where I live in the UK, the Northwest. So
is it?
All from this area, working class, tough background, want to do really well. So yeah, it's nice to see them doing really well.
All right, we could have a separate podcast just on UFC and football maybe next time. Cool. So yeah, Scott, just to begin with, you could tell our viewers a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, cool. So no graft, no glory is my mantra, my motto. And I came up with the mantra, the motto and the methodology based on my slightly long career now, Crispino, of over 20 years of working I worked in the corporate world, right? For 20 years, I worked for a blue chip corporate bank for a number of years, got the battle scars and all of the challenges that come with that, but learned some amazing skills around structure, organization, and making sure that we understand what we're doing and when we're doing it. And then in the last 7 years, I've been in that startup and scale-up worlds, working with a number of startup companies, helping them get investment, scaling. So from starting with 2 members of staff, getting all the way up to 22 members of staff, then having to make redundancies in that time because of the financial challenges that the political landscape have given us, all of the challenges of hiring people, making sure that they're performing, running businesses, reporting to investors, all of those challenges that I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this will be nodding their heads like you are going, yeah, I've been there, I've faced that. And got all of the battle scars with it, really. And then, about 6 months ago, I was really keen to share what had led me to success in both of those organizations that I really worked with for a number of years. I helped grow those organizations by triple figures in the first 12 months, helped them get over 3 million worth of investment combined across the businesses and really get that structure and clarity in place. And I learned lots about how CEOs and founders evolve over time. And I really wanted to go and share that with other people and other people coming into this world, because we have so many amazing people, right? We have so many amazing ideas. And businesses, we all think businesses fail because of the idea or the product. Now, that's right in some instances, but in a lot of instances, the reason businesses fail and founders fail is because they haven't got the clarity and the control in place of what they want to do. Hence why I came up with the founders are never short of graft, Crispino. They're never short of graft, but it's how they do it in the right places. And do they know why they're doing it? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why I came up with the methodology. And that's why I'm out there now working with founders to help them grow their business.
That's amazing, Scott. So, since you work with a lot of founders that work in a chaotic environment, what do you see usually breaking first? Is it people, priorities, or processes?
Wow. So it's a really good question. So it's probably a mixture depending on what stage they're at. But a lot of the time it's motivation breaks, right?
Hmm.
So people who start setting our businesses up, we are so excited, right? We've got this idea. We're going to create the business. We're going to change the world, which is fantastic. But then what happens if we don't have the structure in place, we don't have the clarity of actually what we are doing, our motivation really breaks, then our consistency breaks, and then the control of the whole business breaks. And at that point, a lot of people will give up, right? You know, again, I don't know the figures around the world, but in the UK, startups, the majority fail in year one. Yeah. So the majority fail in year one, not because of the product in every case, but because of that, what we talked about with that founding methodology. So weekly rhythms, right? People don't have weekly rhythms. What do I need to work towards? They don't have a cadence. They become, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, as we go through, but, and you may know this as well as a founder and others, is that bottleneck. We want to own everything in our business, right? We want to make every single decision. We're trying to spin every plate. Well, now let me review it. It's my business. And if we take everything on and we carry everything on our shoulders, a lot of the time that'll lead us to breaking point in the business.
So, at what stage do you feel? Okay, first let's start off by talking about operating rhythms. What do you mean by operating rhythms?
Okay, so what I mean by that is how do we run our business every day, every week, every month? Let's not get into years yet, but every day, every week, and every month. What does that look like? At the start of each week, do we have a clear understanding of what the goals are for that week? Okay. Do we look at our business plans? Do we look at our sales? Have we even got a business plan or a sales plan? Okay. Because without them, we can't have rhythm. We can't have that continue and consistency in doing what we need to do. So every Monday, for example, we kick off with our goals for that week. How many prospects do we need to speak to? How many potential customers do we need to speak to? How many discovery calls? How many businesses do we need to close? How many sales do we need to close? Yeah. So starting with that, making sure where everybody in our team has a clear understanding of what their role is in that. On a Tuesday, for example, that becomes our prospecting day. So on Tuesdays, we will be looking for next week's prospects or this week's prospects, and we do that regularly. We understand what time our customers are available to speak to, and we do that every day without fail. Then we review on a Wednesday. We eat, sleep, repeat, right? Thursday, we do the same things again. And then Friday, we review the week and we agree what's going next week. So it will be different for anybody who's listening in their business. But if they don't have that clear understanding of what I need to do each day and each week and each month, then what happens is we try to do everything all at once and we get nothing done. So we do all of the graft. We're grafting really hard, but we're not getting the glory because we're not clear about what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So that's what I mean
And
by it.
at what point do you think the entrepreneurs need these systems in place? Because I see entrepreneurs wing it usually. In my experience, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs wing it. And so, when is the point when they should actually have these systems in place?
Day one?
Day one, yes.
Day one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
ID, right?
Yeah.
ID. But let's cut out the bullshit, right? Apologies for the language, right? But reality is that doesn't happen all of the time, right? Because we get caught up, and some of us as entrepreneurs get early success, right? Which is amazing. We make a few early sales.
Yeah.
People are interested.
Yeah.
And then we jump straight into it because guess what? We're selling, we're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
But then it gets to a point where we look back and we go, oh, how do we go to the next? So reality gets in the way. So ideally, could be no day one. Reality of it, please just if you haven't got it, get it and go back and look at it and really get that in place is what I would say.
Perfect. Beautiful. That's absolutely the right answer. No other answer to that. Another situation I've seen in Scott is many entrepreneurs or many founders have an amazing strategy in place. They have spent $3,000 to $5,000 in hiring a consultant, and they have a beautiful strategy in place on deck. Like, oh my God, it's on point. You can go to Shark Tank with it, but they fail to execute it. Why do you think that is?
You got some really good questions. So there's a number of reasons again, right? So strategy and business plan. So I'll use strategy and business plan as the same word, right? So I speak to lots of founders and lots of entrepreneurs now, and I'll say, have you got a plan? And they'll say, yes, I've got a business plan. And I'll say, brilliant. Okay. Yeah. When was the last time you looked at the business plan? And they'll say to me, I've got a business plan. I say, brilliant. When was the last time you looked at it? Oh, well, I've got one, right? So there's your first issue, right? You might have it all singing, all dancing bells and whistles. It looks amazing. But if a plan isn't alive, isn't a breathing document, isn't a breathing plan of action, then it's pointless having it look as good as it wants. You can go and pitch it on Shark Tank all you want, or Dragon's Den in the UK. But if you're not living and breathing that every day, right,
Yeah.
that's where it fails. The other area where it fails is if you are a startup team, if you are a founding team, is clarity of ownership. So if you're one of founding team of 3, for example, you have to make sure you have clear deliverables for each member of that team and what they own of that plan.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, everybody tries to do everything and nothing gets done. So it's about having clear owners, and then coming back to my lovely operating rhythm and being in control. Is then when are you reviewing that plan? It has to be alive. So if any of you are sat there thinking, I've got a plan, and you get that little twinge of uncomfortableness now, I've just said, have you reviewed it? Don't worry, you're not alone, but go review it and bring it to life. That's the challenge, keeping it alive.
Love it. Also, so now there are, so just basically adding on to this question and this conversation we're having, we are entrepreneurs a stage now of delegating. They want to hire a ops manager or a manager for logistics. So how do you basically delegate with accountability?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, it comes in getting the right hire, right? So what will happen is we get investment or we get sales to a point, we go, right, we're at a point now in our forecast now plan where we're ready to hire. Okay. And that's normally quite a way down the line, right? Because we may work with some consultants or some fractionals, but if we're at the point of making a full-time hire, we're probably doing really well. That costs salary, and salary means that we've made sales. So at that point, it's about looking and making sure that you get the right person in. And the reason I say that is, especially if you're bringing in sales leads or ops leads, they're going to be very good at telling you how good they are, right? Because they're salespeople and they're ops people. So don't just believe that in that first point. And I want to be really clear with that. It's about making sure that you test what they tell you in interview. Okay. I can't tell you, the hardest job I've had to hire in startups is sales leads. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they all tell me you're amazing. And then when they come in, they can't deliver. Okay. Because they're used to selling, not leading and delivering on strategy.
Yeah.
So that is one of the first points that fails. The second point, if you do have that hire and you've hired them, which is brilliant, we'll bring it back to your point. And I love the word that you use there, by the way, accountability. Really clear. You have to be really clear with what they are accountable for and also what they need to deliver. Okay. So a lot of the time we'll talk about accountability and we'll say, you got to do that. And then we'll never review it because we're not clear on what that is. And then we'll get to a point where we're reviewing their probation or have they done it? And then as founders, and a lot of entrepreneurs, Crispino, we've never had to let people go, right? We've never had to sack people. So if it's not working, it becomes, oh no, I've got to have that conversation. I don't want to have that conversation because this person's salary or job depends on it, because we haven't had that clarity of what they are accountable for and what they have to deliver. So we put it off and put it off and put it off. And as entrepreneurs and as founders, there's one thing you have to be able to do quickly, and that is fail quickly. You will fail quickly. Don't kick it down because it's an awkward conversation or accountability hasn't been agreed. You need to fail quickly and in the right way. So hopefully that answers the question of get the hire right. And when you do, accountability has to be coupled with deliverables. No accountability if you don't know what you're delivering, and you have to review them. And if it's not working, fail quick.
Absolutely, Scott. You actually spoken like a entrepreneur who's crafted for over 20 years.
Yeah, and by the way, I have failed a lot, right? I have failed a lot in those, and that's the bit, right? A lot of time as founders, right? We're entrepreneurial in our thinking, right? So we think big and we want to be big, and we expect everybody to think about our business like we do, right? But when you hire somebody, it's not their business, right? It's not their baby, right? You may get lucky and you bring them in and they buy into the culture, but they're never going to be as dedicated as you. And that's okay. That's all right. But make sure that when you're working with them, that you are really clear. But don't expect them to be, and a lot of founders do this and I've seen it, but they just don't care as much as I do, Scott. Well, no, it's not their business. Yeah, they're a paid employee. So as long as you're open to that, I think that's a good one. I'm sure that ring true with yourself. You makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So, Scott, you spoke about failure. I want to ask you, what do you do when you fail at something that you really invested a lot in, a lot of maybe time, money, resources, and that doesn't work out, and you've accepted the truth, but now how do you bounce back from that?
Yeah, so after I've cried a lot and after I've looked for everyone to pity me and spoke to my wife saying, please tell me it's going to be all right. Yeah,
Uh,
you dust yourself down and you
yeah.
go again. Because the one thing that I can guarantee everybody, anybody listening to this is failure is a given, right? And if
Mm,
you don't fail, you're lucky and good luck to you. And you need to bottle what you're doing and sell it because a lot of us will fail.
yeah.
But the best part about it is you have to then look at why you failed. Okay. So one of the pieces that's really key is you heard of root cause analysis before.
Mm,
Okay. So what you need to do is look at the reason why you failed. Okay. So
yeah.
because the first reason you think you failed is never the reason why you failed. Okay.
Mm,
It's not. You have to dig deeper to understand. Okay. So,
yeah.
Simon Sinek, if you've heard of him, if you haven't, look
Mm,
him up on YouTube.
yeah. Yeah.
Amazing
Heard of
TED
it.
Talks, amazing book, Power of
Yeah.
Why. It's about asking why a number of times to get to the root cause. Okay.
Mm,
Once you've got to that root cause, you become aware of why you failed and then you can fix it. Don't
mm,
ignore it or make excuses for it. Open up, dust yourself down, and then put the controls in place so you don't fail in that area again. Okay. And then as you do, to the point you made earlier, after 20 years, you learn enough lessons to be able to grow and not fail as quickly or as frequently. But we still all fail. But it's about failing quickly,
yeah.
learning from it, and building on it.
Absolutely agreed. You worked a lot with sales teams, right, Scott? So
Yeah.
there is what I have seen from my personal experience, maybe a good salesperson and a sales leader. There are different qualities in them. Can you speak a bit more about that? And how do you differentiate from a good, high performing salesperson and a sales leader?
Yeah, cool. Really good question. So a lot of the time, good salespeople don't make good sales leaders. Okay. There is exceptions, but good salespeople does not automatically, because you're your number one salesperson, doesn't mean they're automatic to be your sales leader. Okay.
Yeah.
Because intrinsically, salespeople are selfish, right?
Hmm.
Because we want to sell to get the glory, to get our money, to get our bonuses, to get what we want. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's cool. That's fine. They're good salespeople. You want them. But when you are that type of person, then to go and lead a team of salespeople or to deliver a strategy is very different. And what you will see in a number of businesses is sales leads will say, do it as I do it. That's how you do it. Do what
Hmm.
I do. Well, that's not coaching and development of salespeople, right? Because we're all
Yeah.
different. We all have different techniques. A good salesperson, frontline, first of all, is somebody who is resilient
Hmm.
because you know what I do trying to sell, you're going to get more no's than you get yeses. It is somebody who is passionate about your product and what you are selling. So when I talked earlier about when you're hiring, you have to get people in and you have to be clear and allow them the clarity to know what they are selling and who they are selling to, because they
Hmm.
can get passionate about your product and passionate about their customers. If they don't have that passion and they don't know about your product, they're not going to be able to sell your product, right? So remember, clarity. What is it that they are selling? Allow them to have full understanding of what they're selling, who your best customers are, when to speak to those customers, and how to sell to them. Then have the controls in place. Okay. This is really
Hmm.
key. Have they got the methodology in place? Do they have a really clear potential discovery script, right? So do they have a clear process? I have a discovery call. I know what information I need to get from that call, and I
Hmm.
know what the close looks like. Okay. I've got to
Hmm.
close. Normally, a close is you never leave a meeting, salespeople, without another meeting booked or an agreed action. Okay. If you do that,
Yes.
you're not going to get it anywhere. So then you've got your control. And then the final bit, which a lot of salespeople struggle with, but the top salespeople don't, is consistency,
Hmm.
doing it over and over and over and over. And ultimately, sales is really boring, actually, in a number of the time. The people are cool, but you've got to keep doing it over and over and
Yeah.
over again. Yep. Being resilient. So that makes a really good salesperson.
Hmm.
Okay. A good sales leader is somebody who has clarity around the market that you're selling to, right? But doesn't just think in today. If your salespeople just think of roughly that day, right? That day in that week, I've got to hit my numbers today, hit my numbers that week. A sales leader needs to be looking wider, right? Over that next quarter, year, half, year. Okay. Sales leader doesn't need to be looking 2 years down. That's your COO's job and your CEO's job. But your sales lead needs to have a good 12-month understanding of
Yeah.
what that strategy is and then how they can move that and grow those sales. Okay.
Hmm.
They have to also, as a sales lead, be passionate that they can hit your targets. Okay. So another good thing as we do as founders, Crispino, especially when we start looking for investment, is we love to make a target up. We
Yeah.
love to make a figure up and go, oh, okay, yeah. How much are you going to sell this year? 1 million? Yeah, 1 million. We'll go for 1 million, right? And
Yeah.
investors go, we love 1 million. It sounds really good.
Hmm.
But if your sales lead doesn't believe in that number, it's going to be really difficult for them to get that number. They have to have clarity of the number that they are going for, why they are going for it, and how they can grow that number. Okay. And then your sales lead needs to be able to create that control mechanism. Remember, I talked about the salesperson being able to deliver on those controls, your sales leads to be able to build them, understand the CRM system, okay? Have a good sales process in place. Always has 100% awareness of the pipeline. On it is that pipeline. So all of us as salespeople want to make our sales process as quick as possible, right? We want to have conversation one on day one, and ideally we want to sell on day one, right? But a number of our businesses may sell day 10, day 12, day 30. We want to reduce that down as quick as possible. And the only way we can do that is if our sales leaders are using data created by the CRM, to be able to make sure that we refine each area of that sales process. That's what makes a good sales leader. So if we're talking about sales leaders, these are the questions you want to ask them, okay? Not just, have you led people before and can you sell? Because they'll say, yeah, okay?
Yeah.
What's your methodology and what is your process towards creating the controls? And the final bit, as you know where I'm going with it, Crispino, is your sales leader has to be consistent and have that operating rhythm. Because if they're not, the team won't be, and then your sales will be consistent. Because these guys, you are dependent on your sales lead to generate your revenue.
Absolutely. So my next question is, I'm sure you've already answered it in this answer, but I want you to kind of highlight it or isolate it separately. You worked with many teams,
Okay.
I suppose, high performing teams, low performing teams throughout your career. What do you think are maybe the three main differences between a high performing team and a low performing team? Even though the skill set might be similar of the teams, but
Yeah.
what do you think would be the three main differences in those teams that make them stand out?
I've told you them, right? It's clarity, control, and consistency. And
Yes.
you may think I'm crazy, right? But it took me a long time to create my methodology and what that does, because I understand it fits in everywhere, right? So three main different, I'll break that down quickly for you, okay? First one, in regards of a high performing versus low performing, high performing teams will always fully understand who they are selling to, when they are selling. I'll give you a great example, right? So I worked with a business once who was selling into schools in the UK, okay? And they were getting really frustrated because they couldn't speak to any of the team who they wanted to sell to were working in the schools, right? So I said to them, okay, so when are you ringing the schools? When are you calling up your customers? And they said, in the UK, we make our sales calls between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Okay. So in the UK, students and schools work from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., right? So you're ringing your customers when they're in school teaching. So they're not going to be able to speak to you because schools are moving beasts and there's always something going on in school. So why don't you move your sales calls from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, because schools still are open? Then the teachers stay, the kids go home, but the teachers stay. Clarity, right? So that low performing team who couldn't speak to anybody, we made that tweak because we were clear about when their customer was available. What do you think happened to the sales and the number of people? Went through the roof because we were clear about what we were doing. So high performing team know when their customers are available, how to sell to them and what they're selling. Low performing team will just fit to their bit, right? Because the other question I asked that team, why do you ring them? Well, we work 9 till 5, right? So that's the best time for us. Brilliant. I love it's the best time for you. It's not for your customer. We have to use our time for our customers. So that is a real key part there, right? Of high performing team, low performing team. The other one again is low performing teams won't be consistent, right? So no matter what we do, they'll do it for a day, they'll do it for 2 days, they'll do it for 3 days, and then it'll just go disintegrate again. They have to be consistent in what works. And that comes down from everyone in your business, right? Because your sales will start with the CEO to your SDR or whatever that, entry sales level is. You all have to be consistent. And if you all are, you will become a high performing team. If you're not, then you drop off and you change strategies every week. Yeah. And you change strategies every 30 minutes. And believe me, I've worked with some people who change it about 5 times a day and will work, right? Make sense? So that's it. Basically, high performing, clarity, control, and consistency. Low performing teams all over the place. Don't really know what they're selling, really want to sell it, but are doing it in totally the wrong way and don't have clarity from top to bottom.
Yes, absolutely. You spoke there about not having clarity and also about changing strategies very often. I've also seen teams where they have 3-4 meetings in a day for no reason. Something that could be a normal email or a text message turns into a call which is not needed. So what's your take on that? And what meetings do you think should be killed immediately?
Okay, really good question. So that depends on the stage of the business, right? So let's talk about entrepreneurs and founders at the moment, because bearing in mind, I worked in the corporate world for 20 years, right? They love a meeting, right? So you have about 4 meetings for a meeting, right? So I don't want to kill that one because they're two very different beasts. But in a startup or a scale company, what tends to happen is the founders or the CEO, whomever, whatever the role title is at that point, want to own everything, right? They want to be in control of everything because it's their business. And all of a sudden, they've got new people coming into the business who don't care as much as they do. Remember what we spoke about earlier? So what they will do is put lots of meetings in for lots of people to report to them so they know everything. Okay? So you need a bin node, right? Only meetings you need as a scale business, is what are we doing this week? Day one, whichever your cycle is. Day three, check in. Are we doing what we said we were doing? 5, if it's a 5-day week. Day 5, have we done what we said we were going to do? Don't overcomplicate it. Okay. Now, at certain points in the year, you may have a strategic review or a board meeting. So, for example, 2 times a year, you should absolutely review that strategy and that business plan. Okay. One, if it's working, to potentially reforecast. We want to get better. We don't just, if we're going to hit our goals early, well, let's go past our goals, right? Let's not accept that. The more better we do, the more investment we'll get and all of those everything. So you may have your strategic business reviews once every 6 months, most times, and then once every quarter. So that's once every 3 months, you bring the team together to review and share best practice. But apart from that, honestly, and I bet you if you all review your meetings, you'll think, what are we doing in there? It can be run by a quick decision maker. And if there's a founder you're listening to this, and all you want to do is understand everything, your business will control you. You will not control your business. Okay. And it will be a bottleneck and it will fail. If you're going to hire people, trust them, bring them in, accountability, okay, and deliverables.
What do you think about this? Sometimes I feel that when accountability is given, there's also an element of fear or blame. So how does an entrepreneur or a founder give ownership or accountability without instilling fear or blame in their staff?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. Suppose that's all about emotional intelligence, right? And understanding that as a startup and scale up, right? So different to a large organization because as a startup and a scale up, everybody is accountable, right? Everybody. Nobody is better than anybody in a startup or a scale up. You are all in it together. And that's why people love working for them, right? After 20 years of Cobwebs, I never wanted to go back because I love that everybody in it together. We're all in it together. And if you create that culture in your business when you're hiring people, they won't fear it because you're all in it together. Where they will start to fear it is if you as the founder or the CEO start to act differently and don't think you are as accountable as your team. Okay. And again, that's part of, I see lots of people who, when they hire people, feel that they don't need to graft as hard. Okay. No graft, no glory, right? I'm not grafting as hard. That's there, but I've got people now to do that for me. As soon as you start doing that and holding them to account, they will disengage with you. Okay. They will figure you because as well, if you start firing people, so you get used to that, letting people go. Yes, fail quick, but fail quick for the right reasons. And you can see that. You do that for the wrong reasons, people will fear you. And as soon as they start to fear you, Crispy, you don't have control of them and they won't be consistent. Okay. So remember, you are all in it together. So be positive, regularly and consistently share the positive news. Show that you as the owner or the founder or the CEO of that business are in it with them. Okay. Sit on the floor with them. Don't create an office where you're separated. Okay. I've seen lots of founders when it grows love to do that. Now I've got my own business. I get my own office.
Corner room.
Creates division, right?
Yeah.
You are all in it together and you will all succeed. Is how you do.
Absolutely. That's lovely. So I also see a lot of times, Scott, founding teams get burned out pretty easily because of they are short on manpower and one person has to wear multiple hats. So what's your take on burnout and how do you tackle that?
Yeah, really. So burnout to really, I've just been working with a business yesterday. We're talking a lot about burnout, right? And ultimately burnout is not a graph problem. You're not working. What it is, it's a clarity problem, right? The reason you burn out is because you're working really hard in the wrong areas. Okay. That is what burnout is. I was working with a team of founders yesterday and they were saying to me, I'm working so hard. I'm doing 20-hour days, I'm doing 60. And I was like, what? 20-hour days? I get it. But what are you spending? And when we broke it down, they weren't doing anything for about 10 hours. They were just being busy fools, right? And it's quite hard to accept that. But once you accept it, and you understand what you're working on, and how you're doing it, and having all of those things that we've already talked about, it really, really stops that burnout coming. And there's another bit I want to add to that because I think it's really important and something that we all do as founders or self-employed people is we forget about us. Yeah. Don't forget about you, right? You are the most, if it's your business and you want to control it, you have to make
Hmm.
sure that you're in the right place. So don't forget to exercise. Yeah. And
Hmm.
I know you're looking at me, I clearly do not exercise a lot myself, but you know where I'm coming from. Don't forget to exercise. Don't forget to keep a little bit in for what you love to do, whether that's
Yeah.
UFC, soccer, shopping, whatever show it is, or whatever you like to do, keep that in, right? Because I promise you, doing a
Hmm.
little bit of something good about you will stop the burnout. If you just fully focus on the business all of the time,
Hmm.
you can't think clearly, you cannot have clarity, and you will not become consistent and in control of your business. So with burnout, you don't have a graft issue. Working harder isn't the answer. This sounds really weird, right? Because you hear lots of people say work harder, right? Especially on Instagram and that, right? Do not work harder. Okay, you're working hard enough.
Hmm.
Work smarter with clarity and do it in that way. And I promise you, and you can come back on it and tell Crispino, that guy from England with the grey hair told me this happened and he was lying, then we'll have a discussion. But I promise you it won't be that.
Yeah.
Honestly, smarter and look after yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely, Scott. I mean, everything you said, bang on. I feel you need to work smarter and you need to keep some time aside for yourself as well. Otherwise, there's no fun in it. Because at the end of the day, we are doing this because we love it, right? So if you don't love it, then there's no point of doing it anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you'll start hating it for the wrong reasons, not because you hate the issue or the problem. You start hating it because you're working in the wrong areas, right? You
Yeah.
know, and what happens is a lot of, listen, how many people's first businesses work straight away? They just don't, right? So,
Yeah.
read all the books you want. Loads of these multi-billionaires and the really successful guys didn't do it first time, right?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was sacked from that book, right? He got sacked from his own business, right? And then went
Yeah.
back and did more. So don't be afraid
Hmm.
to learn those lessons. Okay, don't carry all of those monkeys. Look at yourself. Look at the root cause, like we said. Strategies, get that control and that consistency in place. And if it doesn't work, don't worry. You go again because you know you've learned your lessons, and you're an entrepreneur for a reason because you've got an amazing brain. You're going to change the world. It just might not be today. It might be tomorrow. But just go with it.
Love it, love it. Love this podcast, Scott. This was really very amazing. I mean, the content that we have created right now on this show is going to help a lot of entrepreneurs. And I know like five or six entrepreneurs in my circle who this episode could help a lot. So before we let you go, Scott, one final question. If there's any entrepreneur out there who wants to get started and wants to maybe connect with you for help, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, yeah. So really simple, right? Is just go on LinkedIn, search No Graph, No Glory. That's the easiest way because trying to spell my last name, nobody can do that, right? So yeah, just search No Graph, No Glory. Follow me on LinkedIn. If you leave a DM and you just type in clarity, okay,
Yes.
or a message, then what we can do is I'll send you over some information as well. I'll send people some information about the methodology, the No Graph 3. I can't
Hmm.
say it again. Yep. Clarity, control, consistency. I'll send you some of that information over for free. And if you want to speak to me, I'm more than happy to speak to anybody. But No Graph, No Glory on LinkedIn, and yeah, drop me a message.
Perfect. What I'll also do is I'll drop in your LinkedIn and website details in the description of the video. So if anybody wants to get in touch, they can directly message you or reach out to you from there.
Yeah, and let's do the UFC podcast in a couple of months.
Done. That's it. Done. Once Tom probably wins the belt on the UFC on the White House, we can do that.
Fantastic. Nice one, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you all.